Good morning, everyone. My name is Shawnee Chambers, and I'm back with another Life Journal Jumpstart. Today is December 27th, and our reading is from Revelation 1 through 4. If you're anything like me, maybe in the past you've tried to tiptoe around this reading in our devotional plan, but let's not do that any longer, and let's dive into what God has to share with us through this prophetic book. John is the author, and he writes to 7 churches in the ancient Roman province of Asia. The churches are as follows: Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamum, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea. Those are a little bit difficult to pronounce at times, but it is believed that these churches were undergoing persecution, and at the same time, some of them were still living in ungodly pagan worship and doing just acts that were against the Lord, really. And so John shares a vision, lots of visions that involve the number 7, which is the number of completion. And so as we read these chapters, we're going to be encouraged, because even though we'll go through times of persecution like these churches did, we won't need to be discouraged for long, because we will receive strength and encouragement from God, who is always with us and who is with them, and he will continue to be with us in our own persecution today, even if that looks different than what these churches went through. And so in Revelation 2 through 3, John has specific messages for each of the churches. So we'll go through those. Ephesus, Jesus wanted to share through John that he sees their hard work, their patience, and their discernment to be intolerant of evil people, but he calls them out on their love that is decreasing for him. And as time goes on, they just slowly start to lose their love and affection for Jesus. And so in verse 5 of chapter 2, John says, "Look how far you have fallen from your first love. Turn back to me again and work as you did at first. If you don't, I will come and remove your lampstand from its place among the churches." And so that is a message from Jesus to Ephesus through John, and we can be encouraged by that as well, to return to our first love. To Smyrna, he acknowledges their suffering and poverty, but calls them rich, because even though they may face persecution, they will soon be given the crown of life. And Pergamum, the church of Pergamum, they were actually the home to 4 idolatrous cults, and that gave them the nickname, the throne of Satan. And so Jesus commends this church for remaining loyal despite what is surrounding them, but he does correct them for tolerating some sinful people's influence, and calls them to rectify this immediately. To Thyatira, Jesus applauds their constant improvement in what they're doing, but Jesus said they must not just continue to allow this woman who is in their congregation to call herself a prophet to lead people astray. She's leading people into idolatry and sexual immorality, and he calls them to stop. Revelation 3, John writes to Sardis. Jesus addresses the wrong that this church is doing. He tells them to cut it out and to stop immediately. They have a reputation for being alive, but in reality, they are spiritually dead. And so he tells them to strengthen what little righteousness does remain in their congregation, in their body of Christ, and do what is right in the sight of God. To Philadelphia, he says they are weak, but they have obeyed him, and he will acknowledge that they are the ones that he loves. He urges them to hold on. And so last church that he recognizes is Laodicea. He calls them to stop being lukewarm, and we've all heard that before, to not have a lukewarm faith, to either be hot or cold. And so he calls them to stop being lukewarm in their faith, and he wants them to give up their riches and wealth and to take hold of the spiritual riches that he offers them. Ending our devotions today in Revelation 4, this vision that is revealed shares more of God's glory, and it has a glimpse into the throne room of heaven. So we have the 24 elders, for example, who were probably the 12 representatives of the tribes of Israel, and the 12 disciples. It shares that we are redeemed of God for all time, and the Jews and Gentiles are going to be worshiping him. The creatures in this vision are parallel to that of the creatures in Ezekiel chapter 1. They were guarding the throne of God and represented his attributes. So everything we see in Revelation is not just some scary thing that is to come, but it all points back to Jesus and the things that he is going to work out in time. And so I would encourage you, read study Bibles, listen to different interpretations of these scriptures so you can understand it better, and enjoy your devotions today. I will see you tomorrow. God bless.